Welcome to this new automotive news video for Thursday, July 9, 2026. On today's agenda, we're going to talk about how BYD is humiliating Porsche. We'll also cover a second story about BYD launching a large pickup in Europe that uses less fuel than a small city car, and about Mercedes unveiling a new sports model that's already dividing enthusiasts. I hope today's topics will interest you. If they do, as usual, I'm counting on you to show it by leaving a like, subscribing for upcoming videos, boosting this one if the option appears for you, and of course, as always, by leaving a comment where you share your thoughts on today's news. No one could have imagined this 5 years ago. Yet, the Chinese manufacturer BYD, which many still consider just a low-cost electric car maker, may have just dealt the biggest humiliation in its history to European brands. At the Goodwood Festival in England, its premium brand Denza has just unveiled the model called Z, a fully electric supercar that is directly competing with Porsche, Ferrari, and Lamborghini on their own turf. And the numbers are dizzying since the Denza Z produces 1,604 horsepower thanks to 3 electric motors, one at the front and one on each of the rear wheels. As a result, it goes from 0 to 100 km/h in 2.25 seconds. The time even drops to 1.9 seconds from 0 to 100 in its racing version, equipped with semi-slick tires, and its top speed reaches 350 km/h, but that's not the most impressive part. It comes with a second-generation LFP blade battery, with only 76 kilowatt-hours, which is integrated directly into the chassis thanks to cell-to-body technology, which allows BYD to gain up to 20% more space compared to a conventional battery. This makes it possible to build a lighter car, but also a lower car than most traditional electric vehicles. Basically, thanks to this technology, BYD succeeds where Porsche failed, since Porsche has almost given up on the idea of making an electric sports car. First, they think there are no interested customers. Second, they've never developed a comparable technical solution. Either it resulted in a car that was too heavy, or a car that was too big, or a car that had no range at all. Range, by the way, is probably one of the least impressive figures about the Denza Z, since it claims only 410 km range, and that's on the WLTP cycle. So in sporty driving or on the highway, it's actually much less than that. So that's for the base version, because the racing version even drops down to 380 km on the WLTP cycle, about the same as a Renault 5. BYD actually defended itself on this point, explaining that this car wasn't designed for long trips, but rather to do multiple laps on the track without overheating. What BYD mainly has in mind is to try to break the record for the fastest electric car on the Nürburgring circuit in Germany, a record that is currently held by the Yangwang U9 Extreme, which is another brand from BYD. This Denza Z will use BYD's flash charging system, which allows it to recharge at the incredible speed of up to 1,500 kilowatts. That's 4 times faster than what most high-end European manufacturers are able to offer their customers, which will allow this car to go from 10 to 80% charge in about 5.6 minutes, and from 10 to 97% charge in just 9 minutes, numbers that are starting to get close to the time it takes to fill up a gasoline sports car. There is still a problem with this technology, which is that in Europe, there simply aren't any electric car charging stations that deliver that much power. Basically, even if it can charge at 1,500 kilowatts, most of the time it will be limited to 300 or 400 kilowatts because of the European charging network, which is a bit behind compared to the Chinese network. This supercar is built on a platform entirely developed by BYD, and it features an advanced active suspension system. Inside the shock absorbers, there's a special fluid filled with tiny metallic particles. When a magnetic field is applied, these particles align, making the fluid thicker, which reduces the damping almost instantly. The vehicle's electronics control these special magnets, allowing the car to adjust its suspension in just a few milliseconds. It has carbon ceramic brakes on all versions, and a 12-speaker audio system. The racing version will offer an optional carbon wing that can generate up to 1,060 kilos of downforce at 350 km/h, making sure the car stays firmly on the ground in corners. It also has 4 seats and a 250-liter trunk that can be expanded to 550 liters when the rear bench is folded down. If those performance figures aren't enough, BYD has announced a special edition of this car with over 2,000 horsepower and 0 to 100 in just 1.7 seconds. The only thing we don't have information about for now is the price. But BYD plans to sell this car in its high-end versions at the entry-level price of the Porsche 911. That's something that could definitely make things worse for Porsche. While Chinese manufacturers are pushing the limits of performance, European brands are also experiencing a real revolution. Mercedes-AMG has just achieved what many thought was impossible, proving their point. Just a few years ago, no one would have imagined seeing an AMG badge on a fully electric car. Yet today, Mercedes has just crossed a symbolic milestone, Because for the first time in its history, an AMG model based on a production, Mercedes has completely abandoned the combustion engine. Let me be clear, this is not the first electric AMG, but it is indeed the first electric AMG based on a production Mercedes. This is the new CLA 45 AMG. Indeed, at Mercedes, the names no longer make any sense. In the past, the numbers after the vehicle's name defined the engine displacement. Now, well, I guess they define the power instead. This CLA 45 AMG produces a whopping 680 horsepower, also fully electric, thanks to 3 motors, 1 in the front and 2 in the rear. It also boasts an impressive 1,800 Newton meters of torque. Let me tell you, the tires are going to suffer. As a result, it goes from 0 to 100 km/h in just 3 seconds, making this CLA simply the most powerful and fastest compact car on the European market. To transfer all that power to the ground, Mercedes uses its AMG all-wheel drive system called 4MATIC Plus, which can automatically distribute power between the 2 axles, as well as between the rear wheels. Thanks to torque vectoring, when maximum power isn't needed, the front engine can even disconnect so the car operates as a rear-wheel drive. This architecture is based on new axial flux electric motors, which are particularly compact, integrated into high-performance units developed especially by AMG. The front engine itself produces 360 horsepower. Mercedes claims a consumption of only 16 to 16.5 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers in the WLTP cycle, and 17 to 17.4 kilowatt-hours for the shooting brake version, since this sporty version of the CLA will also be available as a wagon. To power it, it gets a large 94 kilowatt-hour battery that promises up to 670 kilometers of range for the sedan and 640 for the wagon. And thanks to its 800-volt electrical architecture, it can also go from 10 to 80% charge in just 22 minutes. All this is possible thanks to a maximum charging power of 330 kilowatts. Mercedes knows that a power figure alone isn't enough to convince enthusiasts, which is why Mercedes-AMG has developed a system called AMG Force S Plus that will reproduce the sensations of the internal combustion sports car. The car will artificially generate engine sounds, vibrations, and simulated gear shifts using paddle shifters on the steering wheel. A fake tachometer will appear on the dashboard, and the car will also simulate fake backfires. It comes with AMG Ride Control adaptive suspension and 7 driving modes, ranging from eco mode to maximize range to race mode, designed for track use. Visually, it remains relatively understated. It stands out mainly thanks to its vertical bar grille, unique bumpers, new badged side skirts, a spoiler on the sedan, and the absence of the light signature connecting the 2 front headlights found on traditional CLA models. It measures 4.74 meters in length, with a trunk offering 405 liters of space on the sedan and 455 liters on the wagon. Orders will open before the end of 2026, and even though prices haven't been announced yet, the entry-level price should still exceed 80,000 euros and probably go over 100,000 euros for the best-equipped versions. Clearly, this week, BYD is everywhere. After shaking up Porsche with its 1,600 horsepower supercar, the Chinese manufacturer is now unveiling a big pickup that consumes less fuel than a city car. Pickups are the last vehicles we'd associate with low fuel consumption. Yet BYD claims that its brand new Shark, which it will market in Europe, has an average fuel consumption of 3 to 3.5 liters per 100 kilometers. We're talking about a pickup that's 5.5 meters long and weighs 2.7 tons. It's a plug-in hybrid. Under the hood, you'll find 2 large electric motors, 1 on each axle, paired with a 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder gasoline engine. It delivers 430 horsepower, and its combustion engine has a special feature. It can both drive the wheels directly and also serve as an onboard electric generator to recharge the 32 kilowatt-hour batteries, extending the range in full electric mode. By combining the full electric range and the range of the combustion engine, BYD claims that you can actually drive 90 kilometers in full electric mode, but you can cover a total of 675 kilometers. Fast charging for its battery is also available, with a maximum power of 55 kilowatts DC. Allowing you to go from 30 to 80% charge in 20 minutes. This BYD Shark is still a real work truck, measuring 5.5 meters long and almost 2 meters wide. It offers a 1,200-liter bed, capable of carrying up to 800 kilos of payload and can tow up to 2,500 kilos. BYD hasn't forgotten about comfort either. The single trim level is particularly well equipped, with a 10-inch screen for the driver that serves as the instrument cluster. A central 15.6-inch screen wireless connectivity, heated and ventilated seats, a 360-degree camera, and of course, all the safety features required by the GSR2 standard. It will first be launched in the United Kingdom, before gradually arriving in other European markets by the end of 2026. If the announced figures prove accurate, this pickup could disrupt established models like the Ford Ranger or Volkswagen Amarok. In any case, BYD did warn that once the battery is empty, the vehicle's average consumption goes from 3.5 to 9.5. That's it. We've covered today's news. I hope you found the video interesting, and if you did, as usual, I count on you to show it by leaving a like, subscribing for upcoming videos, and supporting the channel by clicking the join button below. See you tomorrow for the next video. Bye.